so what does it mean? Like, what does it literally mean? Well, you might be surprised, historically, again, you might be surprised that the term Christian wasn't given to the church by Jesus. The term Christian wasn't even given to the church by the early church or by the disciples. The term Christian actually literally was given to the church in the city of Antioch. And it says this in Acts 11, verse 26. It says the disciples were called Christian first at Antioch. That's where we see it. Acts 11, 26. The disciples were first called Christian at Antioch. Now, Antioch, here's the context around that. Antioch was a multicultural city and was referred to as all the world in one city. It was a port city. It was one of those cities where its nickname was all the world in one city. So today we would say, well, that's Vancouver, that's Toronto, that's New York, all the world in one city. Now, what's interesting about Antioch is that they would divide all the world in one city. They would divide the city up into ethnical regions. And when I say divide, I mean literally divide. There was walls literally going down through the city, within the city walls, keeping one race from the other race, and they would never meet. Now in Antioch, what was remarkable is along came the Jesus followers, and the Jesus followers come along, and they would cross divides, within regions. You couldn't tell. You could tell how people, which race they were or which section of the city they came from by how they dressed, who they worshiped, their religion. You could tell by what they ate, what they didn't eat. You can tell that. But then along comes the Christians, and they kind of blended in everywhere. They didn't really stand out with anybody. And they would cross divides all over the place where nobody, there's certain races that would never go through the wall, never go through the wall of that part of the city. But yet Christians seemed to interact anywhere. And it was so disheartening, so disconcerting to all of the people in Antioch that they said, we have to give these people a label. And so they called them Christian, which the term Christian literally means Christ-like. And this was given by the city, not by believers, but by the unbelieving city around them, to create a label so that they could identify who these people were. And the label they created is an honoring label. Come on, it's Christ-like. And the reason why they called them Christ-like is because, well, Jesus crossed all the divides. Jesus when he was born and raised a Jew, and Jews didn't associate with Gentiles, yet Jesus healed the centurion's daughter, yet Jesus went to the Samaritan woman. I mean, a Jewish rabbi would never associate with tax collectors and sinners, and Jesus crossed that divide. A male Jewish rabbi would never interact with a woman, but he would interact with multiple different women, and he seemed to esteem women and give them respect when nobody else in society would do that. Jesus crossed divides. He would cross certain areas of the country that would divide them, even the Jews dividing amongst themselves. And he would go aside in Mark chapter 4, go to the other side of the lake. Well, what was on the other side of the lake? A group of people that were pushed out because they weren't righteous enough or weren't Jewish enough or whatever. They would cross over, and they had to live on that side of the lake, and Jesus went to them. And so in Antioch, the honor of being called, they said, you guys are Christ-like, where you don't respect our boundaries, our labels, and you just kind of interact anywhere. And so they gave them a label.